Why did South Africa host the United Nations High-Level Panel on Water? And what makes water management essential towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals? How feasible is the desalination option? And why is it important for South Africa to continue saving water? What time is it? It's question time. Khotso, and welcome to the show. My name is Mokonyane. Experts say the current water shortage in the Western Cape is a reflection of a global challenge linked to global warming. Addressing a United Nations high-level panel last year, President Jacob Zuma reiterated that water and sanitation problems had already reached a boiling point globally. The situation in Western Cape resulted in Premier Helen Zille declaring the province a disaster zone recently after dam levels dropped to 10.5%. For its part, COSATU says the poor will be the first to suffer when compared to the rich who have money and resources to buy bottled water. Premier Zille says while desalination sounds like an obvious solution, the real challenge is cost. Meanwhile, Minister of Water and Sanitation Nomvula Mokonyane addressed the Valuing Water Regional Consultation, a United Nations initiative in Boksburg today. South Africa has been chosen as the first country to host the event. It is aimed at soliciting views from all stakeholders, including agriculture, energy and other sectors, on how water could be valued. We are live, and therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210, our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. My guest today, Sputnik Ratau, is the spokesperson at the Department of Water and Sanitation. Dr. Ratau, Tobe.
Good afternoon, for Nakoyalun.
Well, we'll talk about the UN high-level panel on water in a short while. But firstly, I think there's a question that has been asked. Why is government not opting for this desalination? It is ironic that the Western Cape is surrounded by water, but they can't use it.
Ironic, probably. But I think we have to understand that desalination, actually, as you put it, is part of what we call our water mix. In essence, what you are saying is that it is part of what we are looking at as part of the solution in the long term towards the issues of the water challenges for the country. The first thing I think we need to understand is that South Africa depends primarily on rainwater for its water, and that due to what you also mentioned, the issues of climate change, inclement weather and so on, but also the fact that South Africa is one of those countries that receive less than world average rainfall ordinarily, even on the best of years. So therefore we need to look at new ways of accessing water, and one of those is the issue of desalination. In fact, in the Western Cape, we do have a couple of plants already that are in operation, and we also have the latest one that we actually launched, that Minister launched about a month or so ago in Richards Bay. So it is one option that we are looking at to answer your question, because of the coastline that we have from the Northern Cape right through to KZN. But the truth of the matter is that we have to look at the realities of the issue of do we have sufficient money to be able to pay for those? Remember that those technologies are not necessarily South African. So we need to be able to look at also, are those technologies that are available, all of them, would they necessarily work best where we are sitting?
How much does it cost?
It varies according to the technology, but it could work to about a couple of 100 million per plant.
Yeah, but I'm sure you can afford that. I mean, we read stories that monies were wasted in the Department of Water and Sanitation. Well, they are not substantiated. I must give you that benefit. I'm just saying, I mean, if there's stories that we hear that There are tenders here and there, a couple of billions here and there. If that is the case, then the department can afford some of these plants.
I think we've got to understand that how we work as a department as well. We do have the planning that we do long term. And anything that's got to do with infrastructure development does not depend on a financial year of 12 months between the 1st of April to the end of March the next year. In order for us to be able to put in infrastructure takes a bit of time because of other things that come in. And truth of the matter is that cost is one of those things that comes in. We are in a situation where, as a developing country, do we have all the other competing interests? Are we able to budget less for education and put it into infrastructure development? Are we able to look at all these other things less and be able to do other things? But you must also remember that we have what we call the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission, yes, which was set up particularly to look at the issue of infrastructure development, so that we can be able to see whether we are able to actually deliver or even find out where the losses are.
Okay, hold it there. Josie, you are in the Western Cape. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
No, saying you're welcome for the call.
Okay. We have a nuclear power station here in the Western Cape. They takes millions of water, of liters of water to cool down the circuit, okay, and it's been thrown back into the sea. Why can we not utilize building a desalination plant next door to the nuclear power station and using that warm water on it? You will use half of the energy to get it hot again.
A very good question there.
Well, when you look at where that nuclear power station is based, it is quite close to the ocean, and there was a basic reason why that happens. And obviously, it's in order for us to be able to discharge that used water back into the ocean, because we cannot be able to use it as is. But one of the things that we need to understand is that part of what we are also looking at is the reuse and recycling of water. And that is why we are saying it is not just about the bulk water that needs to be recycled and reused, but we need to start engaging and educating and raising awareness, even with our people on the ground, to say you can be able to reuse and recycle some of the water from where you are. But if you remember as well that when we were commemorating World Water Day, part of the messaging that came from the United Nations as a central message around the issue of World Water Day 2017 was to ask the question, not just to South Africa, but globally, to say there is this wastewater, what do we do with it? But
Rado, tell me, what is the difference between your department and the Department of State-Owned Enterprises? Or let me be blatant. What is the difference between your department and ESCOM? What is the difference between your department and the SABC? These two gets bailed out, you know, and we're talking water here, you know, something which affects all of us, whether you're in the Western Cape or wherever. Why can't you get bailout to ensure that there's infrastructure in the country?
But you see, you're asking a pertinent question, and it's a good question. You're talking about state entities and a national department, whereas state entities actually report to national departments. But bailouts, you must remember that bailouts would need a different kind of negotiation, whereas with the national department you get the Minister of Finance who puts out a negotiated budget that he doesn't thumbsuck, but he works out together with his colleagues in cabinet to be able to work out the figures that who can be able to receive what. That's the Department of State. In order for me to be able to finish the thought that I was having, it is that then you have what you can be able to use for whatever time, and depending on what the fiscus can afford, then we are able to use that money.
So what you're saying is the government currently cannot afford infrastructure to ensure that there's water.
That is why we are now having what we're calling this dialogue on the water and sanitation master plan, because the idea behind it is to say what is the actual deficit in terms of water and sanitation infrastructure, so that we can be able to work towards absolute figures that we can be able to negotiate towards the next amount of fiscus from the fiscus that we can be able to receive.
Brian, welcome.
Yeah.
Whoa. Brian, please call us back, or our producers will call you back. The number to dial 089-110-4210, and we shall return shortly.
The only way to pour the perfect beer, this professional barman would tell you, is into a glass tilted at exactly 45 degrees. Oh, bless you. Bless you, sir. Bless you again. Well, we'd say the perfect way to pour a beer is at this angle, straight into your mouth. Tops its bar. Good beer, good advice, no Ponzi beer stuff.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Today we're talking water affairs. My guest, Sputnik Ratau, is the spokesperson at the Department of Water and Sanitation. And we are taking your calls on the numbers on the screen, just like Keith in Florida did. Welcome.
Paul, how you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for the call.
Man, I don't agree with your guest there this evening by him saying that the water salination plants are an option. It is a necessity. We need to have these implemented. I mean, they take, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Keith.
Okay, they take effluent out of the water. I mean, serious bad stuff. They filtrate it, they pump it back into our rivers, and that water in turn gets chlorinated and put back into the general system. I mean, we've sent men to the moon. Surely somebody can come up with a way to remove the saltiness from, like you said earlier, seawater. There is so much of it down there on the coast. Surely somebody has got enough of a brain to take that saltiness out of seawater and put it back major time into the community. Thank you.
Thanks very much for the call, Keith.
I think I put it very clearly that it is one of those, it is part of what we are looking at as what we call the water mix.
Okay.
And it is not necessarily an option that maybe we will think about in another century or whatever, but it is part of what we have to consider. But part of that consideration has got to look at the reality of affordability. And it is a reality that we have to look at.
Okay.
And then the system would work almost the same as what you have at the water treatment plant, that where you get water directly abstracted from a river. But because this is much more saltier and it's a different kind of water, obviously there are more stringent issues to look into.
Andrew, welcome. You are calling us from around Gauteng here.
Yeah, hello.
Welcome.
Okay, well, what I'd like to find out is the Vaal River.
Yes.
You know, when it rains, all the water just naturally just goes back into the sea. Now, where we stay on the Vaal, there's a weir from the barrage about 10, 15 kilometers. And then after that, from what I understand, there are no more weirs. You know, which you could, I mean, if you had to make a weir every 15 kilometers, you basically back up all your water and, well, there's a way of storing water. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, let's hear from the department.
I didn't hear the last part of his question. What was it?
Why can't you store water as it is happening in the Vaal River? Why can't that be done with all the rivers?
Well, if you look at the fact that we do have dams in a lot of places around the country, and since 1994 we've actually built an additional plus minus 12 dams. And the issue of building dams is an ongoing business of the Department of Water and Sanitation and ultimately government. And therefore that is something that will go on because we need to store water for later use. And the Vaal Dam is one example that when you look at it, it is actually part of what we call the integrated Vaal River system, which has actually got about 14 dams that are serving it. And therefore it is not just the Vaal Dam as an entity that stands alone, but it is part of the whole system.
Now, politics of water. The crisis in the Western Cape, it's something that scientists are saying they should have known about this at least 3 years ago. And they are not planning properly. I don't know whether is it you as the department or the municipality there, but the water fraternity, water management fraternity seems not to be planning properly. But there are suggestions that your department, Dadarata, deliberately let the Western Cape crisis to be where it is because of politics. It's a DA-run province, therefore we are not going to intervene on time. Is that true?
Well, it's helpful that when we can go back to some of the utterances of the minister and basically look at what she has said over time. One of, if I can call it that, for the lack of a better word, one of her favorite phrases is that water knows no politics. The other phrase that she normally uses is that water knows no boundaries. That is why, you know, you can't declare water to be this water only belongs to Limpopo. But back to the question that you are asking, the truth of the matter is that the issue in the Western Cape cannot be divorced from what is happening countrywide. We are in a drought situation, not just even as a country, but as a region. So it is something that talks to a couple of things. One, we are a water scarce country ordinarily.
Correct.
Secondly, we've been in a drought for the last 3 years or so. Thirdly, we have a situation where even with the water restrictions that have been imposed, for instance, in the city of Cape Town namely, we haven't seen the kind of savings that we were hoping for. But thirdly, it is also a question of there just was not sufficient rain even in the last rainy season of the Western Cape, which was 2016 winter season. And therefore, if that implies that over the last 3 years we've been receiving less water, the truth of the matter is we will continue to see declining levels at the dams.
Windsor, you are in Limpopo. Welcome.
Hello, Limpopo. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for the call, Ndate.
It's one that
what is that? Oh, I can't. Oh, yeah, Ndate Windsor, I'm battling to hear you. Eh? I can't hear anything. I think you need to call us. Maybe just stand in one place and read that.
I don't know what to stand. Okay, my question is, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm battling a bit, but let's try this.
Just ask how much of our rainwater that goes through rivers, that goes back?
No. Ndate Windsor, no. I'm battling to hear you. Please redial. Let's see if we'll be able to take your call there. 0891104210 is the number to dial there. Now, the enthusiasm from the department when this water problem had engulfed Gauteng. The minister was all over, going to Baruti, asking for prayers, things, and you know, but we're not seeing the same enthusiasm in the Western Cape. Well, I know she was there yesterday, but where's this public mobilization to say, let's get this water thing going?
In fact, I think I would dare to say that you are incorrect.
Okay.
Because part of what has happened, one is that our regional office has been engaging very strongly with the people of the Western Cape, including the province and the city, particularly the city of Cape Town. But secondly, we've actually had a Western Cape specific water indaba, where we were together with the Premier of the Western Cape and a number of mayors, together with the MEC for Environment in the Western Cape, Mr. Bradell, where these issues around the status of the dam levels and the water levels in the Western Cape was being discussed. And Deputy Minister Chwete today was in George, Minister was in Grabo the other day. So there is that interaction.
Okay.
And the fact of the matter is that we do engage with the people of the Western Cape like we do with the rest of the country.
Joshua, you are in Limpopo. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. Thanks for the call, Josh.
Yeah, I just need to ask a little bit from... Sorry?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to ask, consider to the dams and rivers.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. The problem is, I just heard Rata who was busy referring to the dams and those kind of things which had happened to the dams at Northern Cape.
Western.
Yeah. The problem is, I just thought maybe what must be done, I've got an opinion, maybe it will help to the economy. What they have to do is that they have to consider good things, consider to the probably... Hello?
Joshua, the problem is you're listening to yourself on TV whilst talking to us. So we are going to have a problem there. And now you're gone. It wasn't me. But yeah, that's the problem. And we would have loved to hear the good ideas, you know, because that's what the department wants. The UN High Panel, another talk shop?
The UN high-level panel on water and the session that we had today on valuing water, another talk shop, definitely not. When we look at it and we go back to say, where does this actually emanate from? It emanates from the reality that the United Nations has looked at what would happen in the next years until around 2050 or so.
Yes.
Where the understanding is that we would by then be numbering about 10 billion people globally. The question is, what happens? Water, according to how we know, is a finite resource. What do? We know that a large number of people globally do not have access to good water sources as well as to decent sanitation. So based on that, there was a decision from the Secretariat of the United Nations, which is quite the highest office in the UN, to say, let us have this high-level panel which will actually work together with the heads of states, but also be some kind of an advisory body that must advise what must happen and so on. But not just do that. What we are then doing with the valuing of water and the kind of work that we are doing now is to say it can't be just about the heads of states and the technocrats, but we've got to bring in the people on the ground and bring in that kind of understanding. So this was the first such meeting based on the work of the high-level panel on water. And remembering that it is populated as well by a number of heads of state, including our own head of state, who is the chairperson actually of the heads of state committee of the panel. And therefore, when you look at it, it is creating that very close relationship between the technocrats, the people on the ground, as well as the heads of state, so that we can be able to drive the issue of attainment of these services.
I'm happy you're saying that, because, I mean, the people on the ground are the ones who think or believe that water comes from the tap. Actually,
when we look at the actual practice, a lot of people understand on the ground as well. And you can go back and look at what we call our indigenous knowledge and the people that look at those things and practice things from, you know, the most basic of effects, where they understand that if we don't get rain, we will not have water in our rivers, and therefore we will not have water in our reservoirs. And a lot of those people have got an appreciation of what it means not to have water, because they understand that they may not. But it goes further to say, if they do have that water, but it is not potable, it is still not usable to that. So it is a bringing together of those kinds of minds to say our people need to be able to receive this potable water, and therefore what do we do in order to bring those services closer and quicker.
Sputnik Gratau, thank you very much for your time, and we wish you the best, and may it rain.
Thank you.
That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guest and to you for watching the show. From me and the entire crew, I be hot.